Amongst the hills and forests of French-speaking Belgium sits one of the greatest race tracks in the world for sports car racing, for Grand Prix racing, and for Spec-5 World Tour. It's been a big 15-round season, and this is the penultimate round of the championship, round 14 for the Spec-5 World Tour at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. To bring you live coverage on HJBC, I'm David Haynes with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby. An exciting 45 minutes of high-speed MX-5 action. We can't wait to get into it, Reese. Qualifying's not far away.
Oh, no, it is not. Very fun times ahead here at Spa. We've got our usual 45-minute format for today. The second last round of the championship, as you say. We're going to the Nürburgring for the final round in a week or two's time. And, well, we're rounding off this season with at least two of the greatest racetracks in the world. This is one where I think the MX-5 will play very nicely. Slipstream will be strong around here.
It will be. There's so many famous corners here, but also high-speed sections like the Kemmel Straight and the run through Blanchimont and towards the bus stop chicane. And that bit we're looking at right there, Eau Rouge and Raidillon, usually pretty exciting in almost any cars that you throw down the hill, up the hill, over the crest and along the straight. Racetrack's been updated by iRacing relatively recently too, and everything looks pretty good around the track. As we begin our qualifying session, it's 15 minutes, it's 4 laps, but at more than 4 miles and 7 kilometers of length. Touch and go if you get around for all of those laps. We've had plenty of rounds this season already, with laps longer than this at the Bend Grand GT circuit and at Monza combined. So yeah, just a measly 4.13 miles for Circuit Spa-Francorchamps.
Yes, and a lap around here, if you're up the pointy end of the field, takes about 2 minutes and 48 seconds, or 49 seconds. Brandon Hawken, our championship leader, topping the practice session with a 2:48.406, and he is second in line in the queue out of pit lane. Of course, it is a solo qualifying session, so the drivers can't see each other, and when we're focusing on them, we can only see the driver we are focusing on. But Jared Collins was the one we were following around for most of that initial outlap in the Cheetos machine. No slipstream, of course, around the lap when you're on your own, which means these lap times we see in qualifying may be a tiny bit slower than the fastest ones we saw in practice.
Yeah, the track condition is super interesting with that as well, seeing that the rain from before practice has left a bit of water in some of the curbs. It's most noticeable here at La Fagna. What I love about this circuit is there's so much history that there is an unnamed corner that has a name, and every corner's had 2 or 3 names, and there's still like 20 of them. So much has happened here, in every single corner you could tell a story from a different defining moment of a championship or series.
Absolutely. Collins has brought us back on to the original layout of the circuit. Spa, of course, started out as a triangle of public roads in 1921, in fact. It was incredibly different back then. Where now Eau Rouge and Raidillon sit, there was a winding hairpin up the hill called l'Ancienne Douane, which is French for customs house, because Eau Rouge and Raidillon literally cross the former border with Prussia. That is an interesting factoid that I like to bring out from time to time. We're on board now with Jared Collins as he comes into turn 1 at La Source, carries a lot of speed on the way in, but it widens on the exit. Curb and gravel trap there now, where once there was a wall, and down to the former start-finish line, one of the greatest sequences of corners in motorsport up the hill right here.
He makes
Flat
it
out.
look just a little bit easy, doesn't he?
Yeah, that he does. The MX-5, of course, doesn't have much power. So you would think that it's flat out up the hill there, but it can be a bit of a wild ride with the soft suspension and slightly less grippy tyres than other race cars. Coming into Lecombe now, where we see a big puddle on the apex curbs here. Jared is staying very wide to avoid those. But now we're into the infield purpose-built section of the circuit, David. This is where the flow of the track really comes around quite nicely.
Yes, it does. Through the corner that I am going to be continuing to call the Rivage, probably until my final days. And No Name or Jackie X corner. This is a part that's really steeply downhill, and you can tell based on the trees and the spectators, and then just a little bit to pitch into the double left-hander at Puon. First bit is sort of at the limit of grip, but then I think you're well within bounds through that second section. Facing towards Lafanya here, another place you've got to worry about, a little bit of water in the curb. The rear's moving around for Jared Collins as he has to stay wide of the usual preferred line on the way in, tightens him up a little bit for the next part. So that still looks really challenging through there. Here, less so. The challenge is just tempering your own greed and ambition. Mankind's eternal struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. The gravel traps and curbs will very easily collect you if you push too hard through that section. Yeah, in the corners where you're seeing a lot of water at the apex, in completely dry conditions, the drivers will be all over those curbs. It's the best way to get pace. Blanchimont, incredibly historic corner. Easy flat out in the MX-5, and there's plenty of runoff and a wide curb to collect you on the exit. Then hard braking for the last couple of corners. Formerly known as the bus stop chicane, but I think it's just the chicane now because it really does not resemble a bus stop as it used to. Slight slide on the exit from Jared Collins, but that is the lap complete, and I didn't see any off tracks on that one. 2-minute 50.1 is the ultimate time there from Jared. It's immediately beaten though. We're starting to see drivers really round up their pace. A lot of trading for P1 there. Donnie Moffat currently on top.
Yeah, and then keeping an eye on how long the outlap first flying lap has taken. I think you just get 4 in if you're ambitious.
Yeah, I reckon.
But how you approach it then is interesting with the sun out on a warm track with lots of long loaded corners. Might be another qualifying session where we see drivers make one flying lap, a pit stop, and then another one later, or 2 flying laps, pit stop, see if they can get a 4th in. Don't know exactly how you could time it. Jack Stadola having a weave there. He's done well for himself in open class, but you saw his position go from 4th to 6th quite quickly as lap times came in for drivers like Lincoln Fox, who has gone to the very tippy top, and Michael Coates, who slotted into 5th position.
Yep, time now down to a 2:48.5, so that's actually approaching what Brandon Hawkins said in practice. I'm going to reset my expectations here. I thought that the top times in practice would be full of slipstream, but apparently that's not the case. These guys are carrying an awful lot of pace around here. I took a quick look at the track temperature for qualifying. It's 34 degrees Celsius, so it's not cold by any stretch, but I don't think it's exactly in tire melting territory. I get the feeling that most drivers will be committing to a solid run of laps in track temps like that.
Many drivers continuing on their second flying laps. Eugenio doesn't have a time on the board just yet. Eugenio Pellicci, one final braking zone in the lap. This is the Grand Prix configuration of Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. So the timing line is here as Eugenio is about to cross it. And it means that the race will also begin here on the Grand Prix start-finish line with La Source as the first turn. Eugenio Polici's time is good enough for second place. Very competitive. Mitchell Peak also doesn't have one in the bank just yet until now.
Oh, well, it didn't count.
It doesn't.
Oh, no. It's the standings are jumping around. It looks like Mitchell Peak ultimately didn't set a valid lap there. Brandon Hawken goes to second behind Lincoln Fox as Eugenio Polici resets to pit lane. He's going to go for another lap. And I understand Eugenio's decision to do that. When we were looking at his exit from the final corner, it was a big slide for him on the exit of the chicane. So I think there's a few more tenths in it at least, which could be enough for pole.
You can always find a tenth of a second somewhere around a lap this size, as many corners as it is. Jack Stodola is about to complete this lap. Lincoln Fox, likewise, looking for improvement. Stodola didn't find any, missed about a whole second. That really looks like Lincoln Fox setting up for another lap. How wide he got between the apexes at the bus stop chicane. So I'm also expecting that. Yeah, not even close to an improvement for Lincoln Fox, who I think really backed it off by about 15 seconds on that lap to cool off the tyres some. And there's a handful of drivers out there on track, but without a qualifying time. Looks like Mitchell Peak and Rob Conahan both had their first lap not count. Jason Stalker might have towed out on track, and Damon Pacheco is on first lap.
Conahan, just like Polici, a big slide out of the final corner, and ultimately no time on that lap. So Conahan, Peak, and Damon Pacheco currently out there as drivers that have not set valid times in the session yet. And Damon Pacheco, I think, has only really just emerged from pit lane to start this session off. Left it a bit late, but with 4 minutes to go, more than enough time to get at least one lap on board. And I don't know, if you play your cards right, cross the line now, you will easily be able to get 2 laps in. Mitchell Peak then flat out through Blanchimont, and we'll see if this ends up being a valid lap time for him. He's been fast, has Mitchell. Let's see if he can get it done here.
Not to be confused with French-speaking Formula One driver Charles Pic.
Yes. That's not a bad time.
No, it's not bad at all. It's 5th for the moment. Jared Collins, 6th at the moment. So got Brandon Hawken, Eugenio Polici, Donnie Moffat about to cross the line. Some of our drivers up front. Here comes Hawken with a first lap of a 24.8. He looks like he's also backed off on the second lap, like Lincoln Fox did.
Yes, interesting. So yes, the track temperature obviously is playing a part in that. They want to keep the tyres cool for another run. Paul Murgatroyd was the leader of the open class through much of the early part of the season. Improves on his lap from 27th to 23rd. Still looking to break into the 2-minute 50s there. And Michael Coates, one of the drivers who was trading spots for provisional pole, he's looking to gain, he'll be hoping about a second on this lap. However, it's not going to work out for him. He jumps into pit lane. And, well, I think you really have to practice pit entry here at Spa. It's quite difficult. The drivers will have to come into the pits at least once during this race. It seems that Lincoln Fox has abandoned his final lap as well. So that leaves...
How did both Coates and Fox get a slowdown penalty entering pit lane?
I have no idea. They must have cut across the white line or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what the deal was there. But we're still looking for improvements from Polici and Hawken, so Lincoln Fox is not entirely safe yet.
Watch out for that in the race then, because neither of those pit lane entries look all that bizarre to me. Rob Conahan is 29th with a 2:52, but I don't think anyone crossing the line now, has enough time to get around for another lap. And so this might be Damon Pacheco's only shot right now. Jason Stalker is not out on track in qualifying, but it looks like he was at the start of it. He's the other driver without a qualifying time. 30 have a time to their name, ranking them in the qualifying order.
I've just had a thought about the slowdowns that we saw for the drivers coming to the pits. I don't think they're actually slowdowns. I get the feeling that might be triggering the qualifying scrutiny aspects of the session, because I know that when I've done a qualifying session with qualifying scrutiny up, and I've been going slow on an in-lap and going for the pits, I've been getting that spotter message, oh, the officials don't like how you're driving, etc., etc. You're going to have to speed things up, but it usually disappears once you go into pit lane. Looks like Brandon Hawken not committing to the end of his lap, and Polici has committed to the end of his and has improved to the front row.
Yes, indeed. Sean Hayes not committing to the end of his lap. Man, it seems like the best of the conditions were early for everyone except Polici, who continued to improve. Paulo Coimbra, touch and go if he finishes this one. I think probably not.
Yeah, he's not going to get to the line in time, unfortunately. 3, 2, 1, and the end of the session is right here. Paulo Coimbra can see the end of the lap ahead, but wasn't able to make it.
That locks in our grid of 32 drivers for Spec-5 World Tour's penultimate round of season 19. This is the qualifying order. Lincoln Fox on pole, from Eugenio Polici in second. The championship points leader Brandon Hawken in third, and Donnie Moffat in fourth. Mitchell Peake will be fifth on the grid alongside Jared Collins. Michael Coates is in seventh, with Ray Lombardi in eighth. He lives just next door. Maybe not quite as next door as Eugenio Polici lives to Monza, but we'll take it. Rui Coimbra in ninth. Jack Stadola, best driver from Open Class as he continues his late season charge. Open Class pole is 10th outright.
You got Otis Adams Jr. starting in 11th place with Sean Hayes alongside him. Brian Jabelski and Mike Oswald, another all-pro row there for row 7. Lee Martin, the next of our open class drivers in P16. Looks like the top of the open class pretty spread out here. Tom Athon will join him. Travis Hewitt and Geordie Fike, 17th and 18th. And then we got Peter Rosokos and Mark Kruger rounding out the top 20 of quite a stacked field.
Then we find Andres Navarro in 21st. Mark Cheng in 22nd. Paul Murgatroyd, 23rd. Gareth Brocklesby, 24th. Tim Collier in 25th. Andre Luigi in 26th. Liam Park in 27th. Paulo Coimbra, as we saw, just short of setting a final lap in qualifying. So these ones that did count put him in 28th. Rob Conahan in 29th. And Damon Pacheco, the final driver with a qualifying time. That's Gerard Brady and Jason Stalker didn't set one. And Jason Stalker pulling off track during qualifying. It's also not on the grid for the formation lap at the moment.
Pit lane, it seems.
Either starting from pit lane or not starting at all. So hopefully starting from pit lane. Let's take a look at our points standings with just 2 races left in the season. We're factoring in our 3 drop rounds across the 15-round championship. And Brandon Hawken leads with more than 100 points in the bank. 100 is what you get for a race win. A couple of bonus points available in other ways as well. That is a big margin for Brandon Hawken over Joshua Soto and then Michael Coates and Donnie Moffat. Things get a bit closer in the back half of the top 10 here with Eugenio Pollicci in 5th, Odyssey Adams in 6th, Mike Oswalt 7th, Rui Coimbra 8th, 2 points ahead of Jared Collins in 9th, and Kyle Genske 10th.
Meanwhile, in the open class, Travis Hewitt with a lead of about 27 points over Jack Stadola. Lee Martin rounding out your top 3. Jason Stalker and Paul Murgatroyd, 30-something points between them. It is close between Murgatroyd and Kruger. We'll see if Paul will be able to hold on to that top 5 in the championship. Mark Cheng and Paulo Coimbra rounding out your top 8 there, with Michael Tuck and Peter Rasokis rounding out your top 10 in open. One more championship to come from this, and it is Mr. Clean, with Brian Jabelski and Lee Martin battling for the title of cleanest driver of the season.
Yes, both of them got 0 incident points at Hungaroring last week, while it was a bit of a blowout for everybody else. Brandon Hawken, 16 incident points just in one race last week, 14 for Mike Oswalt. So the margin between Jabelski and Lee Martin and the rest of the pack here has really extended, with Jack Stadola in 4th, Michael Coates there in 6th, Jordy Fike there in 7th, Mark Cheng, Eugenio Pollicci, Mark Kruger. So those guys all super, super close. I'm going to phone a friend, and I'm going to ring up Ray Lombardi. How's it going? Not far from home for you, Ray?
No, it's actually just a couple of hours drive. An hour or two, which is by Australian standards quite short.
I described it as next door just a couple of minutes ago. What's the best Belgian food?
French fries.
Yes.
And chocolate, but French fries with mayonnaise, that's their specialty.
Good. I was about to say what condiment and what to wash it down with, and you've got it all covered. How's the track state from what you're seeing?
Stay out of the insides. The apexes are all wet, so I hoped it was going to be dry a little bit, but as you can see right now, as we're passing this corner, the insides are going to be tricky, and people are going to get forced in there, so I think that's something to watch for you guys.
What did you find from qualifying? A lot of drivers' fastest lap was their first lap, and then not improving.
Yeah, same. I was getting frustrated by the 3rd and 4th lap. I figured I was going to be faster. I thought a 2:48 was there, but it just wasn't there. The tires were just done after the first lap, it seemed. Maybe a little bit because of you're taking different lines than usual. Still some rubble on the track, things like that. But it seemed that the tires were done quickly.
Very interesting, and thanks for your time. Have a good race.
No
Best of luck.
Thank you.
That went about as well as I would have hoped, Reese.
Indeed. Gave us lots of information there, did Ray Lombardi. But now he and all the other drivers will be rapidly focusing on the race start. Goodness me, a little bit of a checkup there further back in the field. Got to be careful with the pace on this extended formation lap that we're on at the moment, but you really get a good view of just how many drivers are actually competing in this. It always blows my mind how well attended Spec-5 World Tour tends to be. We got 31 cars taking to the start on the formation lap, with Jason Stalker present in his car but in pit lane, and it looks like the same is true for Gareth Brocklesby. So hopefully we see them emerge onto track after our leaders have passed the first timing line.
Now, sometimes it's because there are penalties. I also, with such a length of formation lap, maybe don't hate it as a strategy.
I kind of don't either. Obviously, the top of a Rouge and Radillon in a public server GT3 lobby is one of the scariest places in sim racing. In a field of MX-5s, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
So the pace car will pull in partway through the final chicane here. And our front row of Lincoln Fox and Eugenio Pellicci will shortly take the green flag. When they do, the 45-minute clock begins and racing begins at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Again, Pellicci in his lane holding back a little bit on these starts, as we've seen sometimes. Green flag waves, that 45 minutes begins, and we head towards the La Source hairpin. Brandon Hawken, a good getaway in the same lane as Lincoln Fox. Heading into La Source here, Fox runs very, very wide. Brandon Hawken leads, heading down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Rest of the field working their way through. Jason Stalker and Gareth Brocklesby entering the race from the pit lane. And then the slipstream will become incredibly powerful on the Kemmel Straight. And I think that's Lincoln Fox's plan.
Yeah, he handed Brandon Hawken the turn 1 apex on a platter. And the reason is because he wanted to be behind when they come down the Kemmel Straight. Slow down for Michael Coates. Got a bit too much curb there at the top of the hill, and so he'll go dropping down the order like a stone. It is on for the lead. Eugenio Pellicci giving Lincoln Fox the bump draft to get ahead of Brandon Hawken by the time they get to Lacombe, but Brandon is going to hold strong around the outside there. Slides a little bit over the puddles. The racing line is a lot narrower than you'd ideally expect with those drying conditions. Problem for Paul Murgatroyd at the back of the field. Damon Pacheco dropping as well. That was quite the problem there for car 707 with a big pack here in the lower midfield.
Yes, so alongside him there would be Mark Kruger. I think Kruger maybe gets in with a little bit more speed as Murgatroyd was checked up behind the 3 wide in front of him, which necessitated some caution and actually slowed them up a little bit at the second apex of Lacombe there. Downhill and really picking up some speed now. Lincoln Fox leads from Brandon Hawken. Eugenio Pellicci shuffled back into third. Mitchell Peake up into fourth at the expense of Donnie Moffat. Jared Collins, Rui Coimbra, Ray Lombardi, Odyssey Adams and Jack Stadola completing that top 10 right now.
It looks like the top 2 breaking away a little bit through the twisties, but once they get out of Stavolo and Paul Frere and make their way up to Blanchimont, the slipstream will be kicking in again. Hawken with a fantastic exit from that double right-hander back onto the former public roads that make up the, basically 2/3 of this circuit's layout. And not keen to get alongside yet. Side-by-side through Blanchimont, especially on cold tyres on lap 1, is not an ideal way of going about things. But Lincoln Fox is not giving Brandon Hawken much room to play with there. And Hawken will yield from making any moves for the moment. Ray Lombardi and Adams trading spots there. Oh, the outside run for Lombardi looks slightly better, though. Jack Stadola is going to get involved here as well. This is the battle for 8th.
Yeah, so Jack Stadola trying to stage a late season charge for the Open Class Championship. Doesn't want to get tangled up too much in this as he checks up a little bit. Sean Hayes barrels in a hot there, and his battle with Michael Coates continues. Coates gets a good exit just at the rear bumper of Jack Stadola, who remains inside of the top 10. And we've got a couple of buddy pairs as we head towards Eau Rouge and Radion, and surely this will close up on the Kemmel Straight, one of the fastest parts of the racetrack.
Yes. In fact, the fastest when you're in the slipstream. This is the view for Mike Oswalt. And you see the drivers behind start to pick up some speed as they catch the slipstream. But no passes from anyone up ahead of them. I was keeping my eyes peeled on the front to see if there are any changes, but it seems like everyone is content to get into the rhythm of slipstreaming for the first part of this race. I think things will really start exploding when the pit cycle comes round.
Yeah, for sure. And drivers able to find a little bit of water to cool their tyres if they want it. Just saw from the onboard there. So our race leader goes through the downhill left that now has a motorcycle version and towards what's still a fearsome, fast double left-hander heading down the hill. Top three close up. A little bit of a gap to fourth and fifth there. Biggest movers through the field though. Rob Conahan up 8. Paulo Coimbra up 6. Jason Stalker with a meatball flag. He's just got that. He's only just towed.
Yeah. Stalker, of course, starting from pit lane, and I've just taken a look at his car. It is in very bad shape. I have no idea what's gone wrong from here, but it looks to be at the exit of Lacombe. It was a nice enough tour through the initial right and left, but when you get to the right of Malmedy, he catches some water, and the rear end goes head on into the Tech Pro barrier, which completely destroyed the front end of his car.
Ouch, 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 indeed. Now, this is a very high average speed part of the racetrack here, so approaching 200 k's an hour going into Blanchimont. Slipstream closes them all up together. We begin to fan out a little bit here. That's Donny Moffat perhaps looking to make some moves. He was kind of offset a little bit just behind Mitchell Peak. And Rui Coimbra has made some spots. We're playing this strategically, it seems, and you can tell, after all the racing we've already had, 2 laps completed, really not a whole lot to separate our top 20 or so here. Stodola leading open class, again alongside going into the corner. Again, as he turns in, needs to check that Sean Hayes isn't going to overshoot it. Mike Oswald switches from one side to the other. We rode on board with him a lap ago. And Travis Hewitt has the fastest lap of the race in 14th place. Well, this is pretty exciting as we head up Radion again and onto the Kemmel Straight once more. Lincoln Fox is trying to make Brandon Hawken take the race lead, and it's not happening. Rui Coimbra gets a slow down. That's going to be painful.
Oh, certainly is. From 7th spot to, he's going to have to give up that time somewhere. Change for 3rd though. Mitchell Peak makes his way past Eugenio Pellicci as Coimbra slows down to serve that slowdown penalty. Speaking of the Coimbras, Paolo is one of the biggest gainers in the field, down in 23rd place but 5 spots up. The hard charger for the moment though is Rob Conahan, open class number 79, up 8 positions into 21st, as it looks like Mark Cheng has had an issue at Lacombe or Malmedy. 907 has dropped about 5 or 6 spots.
He is racing side by side here. And as he just touches a little bit of the water, doesn't he? He knows there's a car that could be on his right, so he goes a little bit further towards the apex on the left to try to give racing room, I feel, and therefore touches that water that otherwise you'd want to avoid.
Yeah, the difficulties of racing on a drying track. Well, Brandon Hawken pretty content to stay in 2nd place. Gets a good opportunity to save some fuel, maybe extend his stint if he wants to. But now that we are into the rhythm of this race, start thinking about the pit cycle, how that's going to affect the running order. Obviously, not everyone's going to be pitting on the same lap, which could prove crucial for the battle for the lead. But the battle for the lead is right now, as Mitchell Peak has gotten a mammoth run out of Stavelot, and he's going to get both Fox and Hawken on the way into Blanchimont. Number 56 to the lead. How long will he hold on to it?
Very interesting strategically there. Mitchell Peak deciding he'll have a go of it. And Fox and Hawken back into 2nd and 3rd position. Still got Stodola leading open class in 10th. Could be very important with Travis Hewitt in 14th and Lee Martin in 15th. But Travis Hewitt has also been making a little bit of progress. Here he is, all shiny in chrome.
Meanwhile, problem for Damon Pacheco. Apparently, he's been having some technical issues. He's just pulled over and towed back to pit lane. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing any more of Damon from here, but still keeping our eyes peeled on the front. Mitchell Peak with the fastest lap of the race last lap as he slipstreamed past Brandon Hawken and Lincoln Fox. Now he is the one punching the hole in the air for everybody else, and our top 6 are together. Trade between the teammates. Donny Moffat getting ahead of Eugenio Pellicci, and he's going to try and get Hawken and Fox as well. He moves up into 2nd into Lacombe. There's some big moves happening here. I wonder if it's too early, though.
Well, the gamesmanship dial has been moved from a 2 to about a 7 because the lift going into the corner at the end of the straight there was ridiculous from a lot of them inside of the top 5 here. Hence, Donnie Moffat went from about 5th to 2nd there. Brandon Hawken and others just lifting out of the throttle very, very early. Condenses the field that you see still remains very close, and Tom Athon's pedaling for his life to try to close that gap as well, which could still even keep our top 20 connected. Mitchell Peake has put the foot down somewhat, and Donnie Moffat's decided he will as well. Well, Fox and Hawken not keen to do that too early.
Yeah, it does seem like Mitchell Peake is really motoring it through the middle sector here. Of course, all the time that he's gaining will pretty quickly be erased once they get onto this flat-out section. But 6/10 ahead of Donnie Moffat. It's not nothing. Should at least get a massive slingshot should Mr. Moffat there. But Fox and Hawken have been passed by 2 drivers who are sick of waiting. Will we see Jared Collins do the same, or will Eugenio Pollicci make a move to join Donnie Moffat up at the front of the field?
Driving at speed into the bus stop chicane, Ray Lombardi from 7th just closes up the gap a little bit when the leaders in front of him lift and coast, and he drives straight into that gap. Side by side, Oswalt there alongside Odyssey Adams, heading into La Source.
Travis Hewitt finding his way past Sean Hayes on the inside, but looks like they'll keep their side-by-side run. Nope, they won't keep their side-by-side run going. Seen a couple of nice 2 different lines sort of racing battles going on through the race out of La Source. It's a wide exit, so if you're on the outside, you can get on the power a bit earlier. Speaking of power, looks like full power for Donnie Moffat as he's moved into the race lead. And Brandon Hawken is going for it. Look at this. Huge run. Picking up the slipstream off Lincoln Fox and moving past Peake into 2nd again.
Yeah, big moves at the end of the straight from our leading group as Donnie Moffat took the race lead. Brandon Hawken jumped up a couple of spots, so now Moffat will lead us through the Grand Prix infield. Still a never-ending piece of string here for our leaders, with Lee Martin being the fastest driver last lap down in 15th position. You can see why it's all staying together and staying attached. So much time at full throttle, so much high average speed, so you come out of these fast corners, and when you open up the throttle, you're feeling the slipstream effect immediately rather than just at the end of the straight once you've wound all the way up to trying to punch through the air at ever-increasing speed.
Here goes Brandon Hawken to the lead into Lafanya. And, oh, he gets the water, gets the puddle. Big slide from our championship leader. He manages to hold on to it somehow. But no one is immune from lack of grip due to moisture on the track. Oh, this is exciting.
He had to hold on to that ride. That was... if there was any of, except for 5 other drivers that could have ended up in the fence, I think that was a real touch and go with a massive correction required. The big slide in the middle of the corner there, having run through the water and kicked up a puddle.
Here comes Moffat again. Hawken defensive on the way into the chicane. Tight line on the way in, but it's easy to maintain that position when you're on that less than ideal line on the way in. Lots of elevation change through that final chicane. So Brandon Hawken then to the lead, and he'll be hoping that he can stay there. No takers to pit lane just yet, but we are just about on cue for the pit window to be opening.
Would have been really touch and go right now, but next lap, I imagine so. We'll see what games the Kemmel Straight brings us. Brandon Hawkin leading from Donnie Moffat. Hawkins put the foot down through the Grand Prix track, obviously, and he almost puts the foot out at the top of the hill already on, but that's fine. Donnie Moffat, it's like, okay, let's get on with this, and he's going to bump draft your leader, so the pace is really picking up right now. Mitchell Peak third, Lincoln Fox fourth, Jared Collins fifth. Still Stodola leading open class in 10th, with Hewitt up into 13th to try to pressure him for the lead of that class. This is Hawkin really maximising the corners, and Donnie Moffat helping him in the straight. So this could get pacey as Peter Rasorkas is off at Lacombe.
Oh dear. Yep. And it looks like, got to be careful of the cars coming up on you. They managed to stay out of trouble, do Andre Luigi and Paolo Coimbra. Here's what happened to Rasorkas, and move up the inside from the Diet Coke car. Was that Andres Navarro? Oh, I'm not entirely sure. But, yeah, that's what happens when you get on the brakes a tad too late at the end of the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, but evidence of the drivers beginning to look for moves like that. So Hawkin, he loves to drive the car sideways. We've said that for a while now. And as he tries to rearrange some of the puddles through the fast corners of the infield of Spa, he continues to follow that same very trend.
I saw on the entry to Stavilo, he actually got on the grass on the left-hand side before he hit the curb, and oh no, problem for Tim Collier, big problem. Looks like the engine has been worked a bit too hard there for car 111, and he would have been unable to make it around a pit lane from there. So that's going to be our next driver to take to pit lane. As far as drivers who've towed work out, Jason Stalker has made his way back out onto the circuit after 3 minutes spent in pit lane. We do have takers to pit lane. Rui Coimbra and Otis Adams are jumping in, the teammates at Not a Team. And for the moment, it seems like they're the only ones from the top half of the field to do so. In fact, maybe the only ones from the whole field.
This is a team game. We'll see where this puts them out. What they don't want is too much traffic or any penalties. What they do want is to come out together, be able to work together, maybe undercut the leaders if they begin to play some silly games. There we go. That's pretty decent synchronicity.
Very nicely done. Now, once they emerge, they'll start leapfrogging each other. At least they'll be hoping to. And gain some time on those who haven't come into pit lane yet. Adams, though, is a little off pace there, and his teammate has gotten away from him.
Yeah, and this is where they sort of end up. Brocklesby just behind him. Jared Brady and Mark Cheng ahead of them. Mark Cheng, I think, just made a move, maybe trying to break the slipstream almost a little bit. So we'll see for Coimbra and Adams what that strategy can do for them, because Brandon Hawkin, I think, has returned the favour and was bump drafting Donnie Moffat along, who leads the race at the moment. So these two willing to work together somewhat for the moment and not hang about. But I think Hawkin might get the lead back here, heading towards Lafanya. Donnie Moffat lets him have it.
Yeah, slightly wide for Moffat through the second apex of Pouhon, and the door was open. Hawkin just strolling right through. So, two takers to pit lane on a scheduled stop thus far. No one else has jumped into the pit lane for regular service yet. Question is, how long will these drivers up the front of the field wait? Because usually in a situation like this, the leaders stay out as long as they can just to avoid running into traffic when they come out of the pits. So I don't know. I'm not anticipating that Hawken is going to go for the pits this time by, but I've been surprised before.
Pace of the leaders has picked up, as you can see, a little bit more fracturing in this group. The top 9 together, then a space to Oswald and Travis Hewitt in 10th. No one pulling out a line here to go to pit lane. Lincoln Fox pulling aside as they go onto the front straight. He's alongside Mitchell Peake. Ray Lombardi is going to pit. Sean Hayes is going to pit. That's interesting because Lombardi was in the top 9 there, and I would have just stayed with that. But Lombardi is an interesting and tactical thinker.
Yes, he did get slightly checked up, I think, through the chicane with the battle that was going on between Coates and Polici up ahead of him. We'll see if this works out as they're joined in the pits by Andre Luigi. All 4 tyres going on for Sean Hayes. I wonder if that's intentional. Oh, he's rolling backwards. Not an ideal stop here for Sean Hayes. It's all gone wrong.
What has happened there?
No idea.
Was he in the box and dropped and then went backwards?
Yeah, it looked like it. I think he might have been doing the thing of revving the engine up. No, he wasn't revving the engine up. And I didn't see the reverse lights go on the rear of the car either, looking at it on the replay. So that is a complete mystery to me, what happened to Sean Hayes.
Here's the teammates who pitted trying to get past Mark Cheng, who hasn't stopped yet on the Kemmel Straight. This is our comparison. Ray Lombardi's gotten out just ahead of them, so he's now the highest running driver to have made a pit stop. Sean Hayes, long stop, weird whatever's going on there, quite a fair bit behind this, and just ahead of Andre Luigi. Jared Brady in 29th, and then everyone else behind that had to tow on their way to pit lane. Brandon Hawken leading the race, half a second to Donnie Moffat. Lincoln Fox there in 3rd. Jared Collins 4th. Jack Stadola. What a race for him. Moving up 2 spots into 8th. Going with this leader's breakaway and the pace of those up front. And when you look to compare the speed and talent of Spec-5 World Tour to other that you see, Hawken's got an 8,200 sports car I rating, and he can't drop these guys.
Yeah, indeed. It's such a great level of competition in this league. Move for second as Lincoln Fox gets up the inside of Donnie Moffat, but that's because he's going for pit lane. And the only one from the top 3 to do so, but it looks like Eugenio Polici is going to join him in the lane. So a bit of a split strategy between Moffat and Polici. But Eugenio has picked his buddy, and it's the man who started on pole.
Absolutely, creates a couple more splits inside of that top 10 as well, as a few drivers have come to pit lane. Left side tyres, Lincoln Fox. Left side tyres, Eugenio Polici. Makes sense to me. Where are they going to be compared to, say, Ray Lombardi? Paolo Coimbra joins the pit lane. Lincoln Fox is out of here. Fair bit more fuel than Lombardi took. But a quicker lane time? What did... Oh, I'm looking at Polici. Here's Lombardi alongside Polici.
Indeed. All that being said, though, when you compare the lane time to the stop time, it does seem like Ray Lombardi lost a bit, because his lane time is 35.5 seconds for me, with a 14.5 second stop. Lincoln Fox's stop was about 1.5 seconds slower, but his lane time only half a second slower.
And he would have been hoping for a little push from Eugenio Polici to catch Lincoln Fox, but it's not forthcoming. Eugenio Polici leapfrogs him, and a couple of drivers who've made their pit stop link up here in the shape of Polici, Lombardi, Rui Coimbra, and Odyssey Adams. All
right, so that tells me that potentially Coimbra and Adams are going to be right with this pack, because don't forget, Lincoln Fox was running pretty consistently in and around the top 3. The thing that he'll be hoping for is that these guys slow each other up a little as they continue to pound their way around this circuit. Jack Stadola still at the rear of this train, and well, I did have to cut away from your thoughts about it, about him and the competition of this league when that move happened. But you're right, Stadola's, the level that he's on at the moment, he's done everything right in these last few rounds. He's qualified up the order. He's qualified just behind those at the very front of the field, and he's been able to latch on to the slipstream of them and stay with them, just basically being given track position endlessly around the lap here at Spa. And it'll be difficult for Travis Hewitt to make a response as into the pits comes Donnie Moffat of Mitchell Peak.
Yeah, points are paid by the finishing order, not by how many seconds you win by. So while this is going very well for Jack Stadola, Travis Hewitt and Lee Martin have also moved up a couple of spots. We'll see how many they maintain after the pit cycle. But Moffat, Peak, Stadola, Hewitt, Lee Martin, Tom Athon, Jordy Fike, Brian Jabelski, all in. Not a whole lot of split on the strategy here. The parts of the track that are dry are relatively hot, and there's so many long corners here. And quite a few of those cars are staying down on the ground. I see Athon and Stewart taking tyres. Someone's going for some right sides back there that could be Andres Navarro.
Yeah, Andres Navarro.
How's the congestion?
Oh, yeah, that's tight on the way out of the pits. But the blend is there for Mitchell Peak and Donnie Moffat. They come out ahead of Polici and Lombardi.
Long stop Stadola.
Oh dear, that's a very long stop.
Never saw a penalty at any point.
Me either. What has happened to Jack Stadola? Finally, the stop is complete, 56 seconds. I'm going to go back and check that.
That looks like speeding on pit lane, doesn't it?
I will confirm.
My goodness, very, very costly, and now he's drifting out of the pit exit. Everyone in open class has pitted except Gareth Brocklesby. So the leader of open class is Lee Martin.
I tell you what's happened to Stadola. Unsafe pit entry. Unfortunately, he crossed the green-painted asphalt that separates the pit entry lane from the racetrack. It was a late commitment to coming into the pits, and it was just too late. Stadola was not within the bounds of the pit entry lane, and that's what gave him his penalty.
And it's been super, super costly, hasn't it? It has dropped him many, many spots and away from that fast group of cars that he was a part of that was giving him such a benefit. A leading four haven't stopped. You're looking at them. Brandon Hawken, Jared Collins, Michael Coates applying the assistance. There's a word I'm looking for. That'll come to me immediately after this broadcast finishes.
Yeah. Word that's coming to my mind right now is entry, and that's what our leaders are doing into pit lane. Hawken, Collins, and Coates all in a row. Mike Oswalt joins them in pit lane. Now we just need to wait for Gareth Brocklesby to come into the pits, and we'll have just about everyone having done a scheduled pit stop here today. So 16 to 17 seconds is what we're looking at for most pit stop times. No surprise to see right sides going on for all of these guys. First away from the pits is Jared Collins. That is a pretty lightning quick stop compared to Brandon Hawken, who was a whole second slower in the lane. And they come out pretty much level with Lincoln Fox, who goes to the lead.
Yeah, Fox up front. might almost break a second here. It will be tough to keep it broken, and they'll bump draft each other if necessary behind here to close him down, no doubt. Making a move on the way into Eau Rouge goes Eugenio Pollicci. He was at speed from La Source. Brandon Hawkins still getting up to speed, and Policci's pipped him. Most of the gang are back together. Spare a thought for those that have dropped out, though, like Stadola.
Yeah, Sean Hayes as well, who lost a lot of time on his pit stop, but not as much as Stadola.
Worked out for Coimbra and Adams, their early stop. They're on the tail of this. Here's 3 wide. Tom Athon, Travis Hewitt. Around the outside goes Lee Martin. Leader of open class still at the moment has got Travis Hewitt, who becomes second in class.
Yes, this is a solid battle. Jabelski and Brocklesby right behind them. They'll fall into single file as they make their way through the comparatively twisty purpose-built section of this track. I say comparatively because the rest of the lap is so fast. Looks like there was just contact for the lead, or for second place. Jared Collins has fallen back to 4th. A little bit of biff from Pollicci and Hawken through Pouon.
So heading down into the corner, this is what happened. Pollicci looking for the inside, a little bit behind.
There's the contact.
That's how it transpired. Lincoln Fox, 1.4 second lead. Surely that can't remain.
Yeah, I think if Pollicci and Hawken work together here, they'll be able to catch him up no problem. My timing is telling me 5 laps to go when they cross the line.
Now, Pollicci took left side tyres in the pit stop, and his first flying lap post that stop was a new fastest lap of the race, so he's suddenly in a mood to not hang about. And with Brandon Hawken pushing him towards Blanchimont, they've closed more than half a second on Lincoln Fox just in that time, and they'll continue to do so, no doubt, down the old pit straight and the Kemmel straight this time around. So in the final stint of the race, with compulsory pit stops made for everyone except Gareth Brocklesby, who seems to have found a secret little extra bit of his tank, perhaps from where he started. This is going to get tight. Donnie Moffat, a new fastest lap of the race in 6th. So for everything that they held back at the initial stint and were a little coy to show their hand, they're not now.
Yeah, now we're in race mode. Everything before this point was just waiting for all the chips to fall into place. Hawken pushing Eugenio Pollicci along. Look at the momentum they have here. They already catch up to Lincoln Fox before they even get to the braking zone of Lacombe. Hawken looks to the inside, but he's not going to go for it. Pollicci to the lead.
Speed difference was outrageous. Lincoln Fox all on his own versus Eugenio Pollicci being pushed along by Brandon Hawken, and both of them jumped in before the end of the straight and lead him down into Rivage. The drivers behind also managed to close in, so Collins and Peake and Moffat all get a little bit closer. And the top 10 is all pro-class drivers. The top 3 in open classes: Lee Martin, Travis Hewitt, and Rob Conahan, up 11 spots so far in this race. There is a ferocious 4-way fight in open class between Kruger, Roussorkis, Murgatroyd, and Andre Luigi, and it's so good to have that 14 races deep into this season of Spec-5 World Tour.
Yeah, it's been incredibly well attended. You know, most leagues, they have the participation drop off in these last couple of rounds, but these guys are battling for 19th place overall, which goes to show you how tight the competition is, how numerous these competitive drivers are.
Also consider Spec-5 World Tour closes the grid to new entries in the final couple of races of the season. And still, everyone wants to be a part of this. The train forms, 5 cars in a second, bumpers interlocked, heading into Blanchimont.
Polici defensive, Hawken follows him, but then the door opens to the inside. Hawken doesn't go for the move again. This is very interesting tactical driving, right on the edge of grip for all of our leaders. Across the line to begin the 14th lap of this race. And if my timing is correct, 4 laps to go. It'll be over before you know it.
Yeah, it must be 4 laps. No time to get around for 5, but enough for 4. So Polici and Hawken, both incredibly quick, having held the fastest lap of the race at points, having qualified up front, only bested by Lincoln Fox in the qualifying session, who took pole. Jared Collins is going to push Fox towards the leaders, and now it's Fox and Collins with an immense amount of speed. And it's just a funny sight seeing the duos locked together. It's like a Finnish wife carrying race.
Yeah, a bit like that. Interesting to note, the water on the apex of the left-hander at Lacombe, has completely gone, but there's still plenty of water there on the exit of Malmedy, and that's shuffled both Collins and Hawken back. Mitchell Peak now stands a chance of getting into the top 4 as Fox and Polici form their own little breakaway here. Hawken maintains the spot there up the inside of Peak at Jackie X. And now it's time to reset.
On board with Hawken as he turns into Puon. Ahead of him, Jared Collins. The car doesn't turn in particularly well, and he runs a little bit wide. So through the twisty parts, the field spreads out a little bit, but every time we get into a straight line, they really do close up. It's the character of these type of cars at a big Grand Prix track. And as far as Grand Prix tracks go, this one is even bigger and faster and meaner than most others, and that's what's given it its reputation over the years, and why it's almost insane that it's not going to be a yearly fixture going forwards.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those venues that you would expect would be on the F1 calendar every single year. The Belgian Grand Prix was part of the first ever F1 season, actually, and yeah, unfortunately, it just seems money and politics have conspired to put some classic racetracks out of the limelight, but into the limelight for Jared Collins, as Polici is defensive on him into the chicane. Oh my God. Oh, that's going to be a car out.
With predictable results, 3 wide, Donnie Moffat goes around as the third domino around the outside. In the middle was Ray Lombardi. I didn't catch who was sandwiched there. Pete? Coates,
yeah. Unfortunate there. And I wouldn't blame Coates for that. He was staying wide to keep Ray Lombardi with some room to the inside, and Moffat just caught on the outside, unlucky.
Also a battle for the open class win, Lee Martin and Travis Hewitt, a first and second in class in the middle of the next battle on track. This is going to be a thrilling couple of laps here, as in the outright race lead, they're going to fan 3 wide. Brandon Hawken moves from left to right to open up the third lane to try to go from 4th position to the race lead. A cloud comes across circuit Spa-Francorchamps just in the final minutes here. Hawken leads now. He was 4th just before the braking zone of Lacombe. This track is outrageous for these race cars.
Certainly is. As I mentioned before, the puddle on the apex of the left-hander at Lacombe is completely gone. So they're taking a lot more of the inside of that corner now, but there's still treacherous spots around the circuit that they need to look out for. Malmedy, Fagné, a couple other spots besides. I always love races on a drying track. It adds that little extra element of, you know, where exactly is the grip? How long are we going to be able to last here? 6 minutes to go, and that's very deep into Fagné for Brandon Hawken, but manages to just stay ahead.
Things gone from bad to worse for Donnie Moffat. He's actually towed with that damage he sustained in the battle for top 10, and a few of our other drivers who were in incidents earlier have had to make their second stop to get enough fuel in, like Jason Stalker. 2 laps to go at the line this time. Brandon Hawken with the foot down but unable to break the slipstream. Crabs in a bucket. Anytime one driver gets away, the others combine to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, anytime you're out front, you're easily going to see drivers make their way forward. Collins with some huge speed, but he isn't quite able to get alongside. I think everyone's just trying to set themselves up for the final lap here. Penultimate lap begins, and we have a 2:47.8 from Brandon Hawken at the front. Pretty good time considering very little slipstream on that one. The open class lead, by the way, still holding on for Travis Hewitt. Got Tom Athon separating himself from Lee Martin, and it looks like it might very well be 2 cars separating Hewitt from Martin shortly if he can make this move on Geordie Fike.
Tom Athon might have run wide through Blanchimont. He had a slowdown flag, and he had one a couple laps ago too. One of the few drivers I've seen getting them there. So he stays in between Hewitt and Lee Martin, battling for points in the open class. Although I think Lee Martin's also still trying to battle for Mr. Clean. Oh, the race lead outright's 3 wide again. Jared Collins is looking for the race lead with the middle occupied by Polici, who somehow avoids contact. He takes the race lead. Collins back into third. Hawken in second place. Top 9 cars covered by under 2 seconds.
That was a rub, definitely, between Polici and Collins. I'm amazed that Eugenio was able to hold on to that, considering he was going over some water at the time as well. But Jared Collins is looking crazy racy in these final couple of laps. But then the question comes to mind, did he pull the trigger too early? Has everyone cottoned on to what he's going to do?
His Cheetos are flaming hot right now. Sun seems to be coming back out just in the final minutes of the race here. Some of our first drivers to pit in this race, Rui Coimbra and Odyssey Adams, have been part of this top 10 the whole last 15 minutes, but we haven't seen them try to move forward all too much. Ray Lombardi, the driver who probably needs to save the most fuel, is in 6th. The battling has been between this top 4 of Polici, Hawken, Collins and Fox, all unafraid to throw a punch. Second place, looks like he's pushing first place. Brandon Hawken is thinking, what am I going to do on this final lap? This is where you try to checkmate your rival.
Oh, got to be careful with Mitchell Peake and Ray Lombardi behind as well. They're trying to do the same thing. It's 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 in the top 10 here. And they all come together at the front here on the way into the chicane. That's very deep on the brakes for Polici. He holds on. Hawken wide, allowing Fox through for second ever so briefly before the outside line and the extra speed kicks in. White flag is out, and I have no idea who's going to be on the top step from here.
Shout out to our double dose of Barney, so we know it's the final lap. 3 wide just behind this. Michael Coates to the inside of LaSource. Ray Lombardi wide into the gravel. Lombardi got super hot into the bus stop chicane, got into the door of Mitchell Peake. Now here comes Peake, back past him. No love lost there as Polici will lead the group towards Eau Rouge and Radion. The run on the Kemmel Straight could decide this race. Problems elsewhere for Andreas Navarro. We'll have to cover that off later as they're going to fan out 3 wide onto the Kemmel Straight. Right-hand side's Polici. In the middle is Hawken. Lincoln Fox has got a little bit of momentum, but Polici drops back in behind Hawken.
Look out for Collins.
Decide this. Now he pulls back out.
Oh, and Polici yields as Lincoln Fox and Brandon Hawken are side by side for the lead. Slowish exit for Lincoln. And that's going to give Brandon Hawken a slight breakaway, but he won't be able to hold on to that. Jared Collins, I was very interested to see what he would do. I thought he'd stick one up the inside, but he didn't decide to this time. There'll obviously be another opportunity at the chicane at the end of the lap. Oh, that chicane is going to be mighty.
This is the kind of racing you can only get out of a league like Spec-5 World Tour. It's round 14 of the season. They've all raced each other for 14 races already in a row. They've all raced like this all season. You know what to expect from the drivers around you in a 15-round season like Spec-5 World Tour. Around the outside on the exit goes Lincoln Fox to get the inside of Lafagna. Pollicci dives deep into the braking zone behind them, but he's got nowhere to go when they're racing too wide in front of him. Fox yields. It's going to try to cross back over under. Your final opportunity is the braking zone into the bus stop chicane on this final lap, but they are stacked up 5 deep with Hawken leading Fox and Pollicci. Jared Collins there in fourth has made a couple of attempts at breaking the stranglehold, but they've blocked him out. Coates in fifth. Coimbra and Odyssey Adams have come together into sixth and seventh, so that's worked well for them in the final stages, but we'll go side by side approaching Blanchimont. Fox wants to go around the outside like Max Verstappen, but he squeezes Hawken to the entrance, and Pollicci looks to go around the outside, gets into the runoff. Jared Collins is arriving at speed. The inside of the braking zone is for Lincoln Fox. 3 wide for the race lead in the final corner on the final lap. Hawken gets a little bit of a tag but holds on to it. Lincoln Fox is going to lead out of the final corner, heading towards the checkered flag as they use all of Circuit Spa-Francorchamps runoff. The pole sitter eventually wins. Fox from Hawken, from Coates. Ray Lombardi's run out of fuel in the back of shot. Travis Hewitt has dropped behind Lee Martin, so Hewitt will keep his open class championship lead, but Lee Martin is coming around to take the open class win.
Just behind Tom Athon there was some jigging about in that fight while we were preoccupied with the titanic battle for the lead. Well earned from Lee Martin. He had to work for that. We'll get a view of that here. Looks like Geordie Fike. Oh, contact there. And that is what put, I believe, Travis Hewitt down to 14th place. Fike in pieces on the way into Blanchimont on the final lap.
A lap ago, Ray Lombardi nearly did that to Mitchell Peak, and it becomes a pinch point in multi-class traffic racing as well. So often, that little kink just before Blanchimont proper as your line sort of comes across towards a point there rather than holding a lane like you would on the road. Sean Hayes is going to come around to finish the race. And then Jared Brady, Andres Navarro, Paulo Coimbra, Tim Collier, and Jason Stalker. Andres Navarro, I think, was 1 lap short on fuel, came into the pit lane on the white flag lap, was speeding on pit lane, and so his splash and dash actually took him 50 seconds in the pit box.
Deary me. Across the line, Tim Collier will come. A lot of them battle drivers at the back of the field, not least Jason Stalker, who had to come into the pits twice. He will ultimately be the last of our finishers to see the checkered flag. What a race.
Yeah, this isn't Monza combined where there's 4 minutes full throttle of slipstreaming, but that run from Eau Rouge up Radion and climbing on the Kemmel Straight really kept everyone packed together, and the high average speeds through the middle sector also just gives them a tenth a second of slipstream between places like Jackie Ix and Pouon and Lafagna. Drivers kept on their toes by just a little bit of water remaining on the track, hiding in the curbs and gullies. Lincoln Fox really needed all of his guile in that one. He was quick in qualifying. His 1 lap pace was strong, but he got shuffled around a little bit in the middle phase, pitted a little bit offset to the others, got run down and passed, but then worked his way back forward to the front at the critical moment. Brandon Hawken will probably not be too disappointed. His extensive championship lead remains intact. He was part of a great race and he features on the podium. Michael Coates maybe wasn't the driver that you picked to occupy 3rd place. Jared Collins and others maybe looked a little bit more likely. but you got to be in the right place at the right time, and he was the fastest driver on the last lap as well. Great race by Michael Coates from 7th on the grid. Jared Collins gets 4th. Odyssey Adams and Rui Coimbra receive a 6th and 3 place gain over the race from their strategy of pitting together, pitting early. Eugenio Polici, Mitchell Peake, Ray Lombardi, tough couple of final laps for them as it came a little bit undone. Mike Oswalt got 10th place, Tom Athon 11th, but Lee Martin won open class. Brian Jabelski there in 13th. Travis Hewitt involved in a little bit of contact late on, or he may have lifted out of the throttle too as well amongst that. Got 14th place. Teammates Conahan and Murgatroyd in 15th and 16th. Andre Luigi there in 17th ahead of Peter Rasorkas in 18th. Kruger 19th, Liam Park 20th. Lots of drivers on the lead lap because it's a massive lap. Mark Cheng and Gareth Brocklesby 21st and 22nd. Sean Hayes, Gerard Brady, Andreas Navarro, Paulo Coimbra, and Tim Collier and Jason Stalker. Geordie Fike towed on the last lap. He will be counted. Has 29th, 16 laps completed. Donnie Moffat a couple of laps short after some contact. Jack Stadola also 2 laps down, and Damon Pacheco an early retirement. Let's see if any of our podium will speak to us, Reese.
Indeed, it would appear that Brandon Hawken is there from the pro class, but no one else for the moment. So I think our championship leader is going to be joining us. And we have him now, Brandon Hawken. It was quite the tight battle all the way up the front for the whole way through that race. Slipstream was always going to be mega here at Spa, but there was a bit of extra tactics required with the drying track.
Yeah, that was kind of wild, man. Yeah, it was kind of like a replay of Monza with all the drafting. That was a lot of fun. It was a whole like. Just like strategy game there the entire time, and we had those puddles on the inside of quite a few of the corners there to spice things up even more. So that was cool. If you're making a move down the inside, you wanted to try and avoid those, and it was really hectic battle there, all like especially the last half of the race. That was pretty crazy, and definitely did not want to be the leader on the back straightaway, but also at the same time I think I had Eugenio like right behind me. He was wanting to get into second, and so I was staying behind Lincoln, and then I got ahead of Lincoln, and then it ended up he got a nice run coming out of that long sweeping left, but he had the inside going into the next corner, so he got a little bit of a puddle. So I was like, crap, I don't want to be in first right now, but I guess I'll just have to take it and hope to defend, and then down the back straightaway had we were 3 wide, man, I kind of wanted to back out and then kind of like hope Lincoln moved to the outside a little bit so I could like stuff it down the inside, but he did a good job covering that off, and my only other move was to just try and hang around the outside, and he broke super late, and then so he had me covered, and then I got a little bit of a tap from behind, so I was like wheeling the thing trying to get it to the line. That was pretty crazy. So man, great win to Lincoln. Had a great time working with a whole bunch of drivers here tonight. That was a lot of fun, bump drafting and everything, and man, that was a really good race.
Tight quarters, but it worked out cleanly for you in the end. Another podium on your way to a potential championship coming into next round, the final round at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Thanks very much for joining us, Brandon. We'll be talking to you again then, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one, and see you next week.
Brandon Hawken there, second place on the road at Spa. And it looks like that might bring things to a close here, David. I am very happy with how that race turned out, and it sets us up nicely for the final round next week at the fearsome Green Hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that one. I think if we just go a couple more doors further down the hallway, we'll see if we can grab a hold of the open class winner, Lee Martin.
Oh, hey guys, good evening.
That would have been pretty exciting from your perspective. I think Travis Stewart had you covered for a fair bit, but it's the end of the final lap that matters.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of patience paid off at the end there. It was a heck of a race between us, though. Everybody working together, everybody drafting together. We had no chance of catching the lead pack, but it was great to be in such a clean pack until that last lap. That was a shame.
But let's talk about what really matters. How'd your incidents go?
I was just talking about that with Brian. I think we both managed to make it with 0x, so no change in position on the leaderboard.
Very interesting to see what happens at the final race. How did you find the track conditions play out? We spoke to Ray Lombardi on the formation lap, and he was talking about those puddles up against the curbs, but then Reese was noticing that a few of those dissipated as the race went on.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think most of the group was surprised that there was that much water on the track. Certainly made you drive a different line during the quali. It did start to dry up. I don't know if people were just distributing the water out a little bit, but I tried a couple times to get a little tighter on the inside of the apex, even the last couple of laps, and that caused all kind of wiggling. I backed off on that real quick, but did make it exciting.
Certainly did. Well done on the win with just one round left to go. Do you think of yourself as a bit of a Nordschleife specialist, or is it going to be a tough one?
No, hardly a specialist, but I love the Nürburgring. It is, it is on my bucket list of actual places to go and drive a car on it. Brilliant, beautiful, challenging. That back straight is just long enough for your heart rate to settle down before you start it all over again. I love the track. I just hope I don't make a mess of it.
Well, 90 minutes, no pressure. We'll see you then. Well done, Lee.
Good deal. Thanks as always, guys. Appreciate you.
I'll put Lee Martin back where I found him. Also one of the people involved in administering the league and keeping the spreadsheets up to date. So we appreciate his work too as we look forward to one final race of season 19 for Spec-5 World Tour. Lincoln Fox takes the pro class win here at Spa. Lee Martin with an open class win, and Mr. Clean still in play for him with one race to go. It'll be live here on HJBC, so make sure you're following us and our channels to catch that one, and a season decider for Pro, Open and Mr. Clean in the Spec-5 World Tour next week.